What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here. Today for a Super Bowl Sunday weekly sports card market update. Finally here, the big game has arrived. And what I need to know, who's winning? I'm taking the Rams. I'll take the Rams straight up. I'll take the Rams and the points, or minus the points rather. I think it's just a matter of their defensive line versus the Bengals offensive line. I think that's what it comes down to. I could be wrong. We will see what happens. A lot of card values will swing on the outcome of this game, or will they? We kind of talked about this in the previous video. We're going to talk a lot about football today. So we'll kind of, that's the tease, if you will. Most of the show today is going to be about football, a little bit of NBA trade deadline stuff. And then, we'll just kind of see what happens. But like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube jazz, but football heavy video today, most likely. Just general newsy stuff this week. We had the SGC fake card thing. I covered that in the video the other day, the way they kind of handled that. eBay authentication shipping thing. I am seeing still random issues with that. There's at least 4 or 5 cards that I know of that have made their way through social media about the shipping practices. Kind of the same thing with the cards sliding out of the card saver, which I still really don't know how that happens. I see they may have a slight rake hike coming. I need to dig into that, like very, very tiny. And then the other thing that I saw floating around regarding eBay is a change in, it seems like it's not rolled out. It seems like they're trickling it out, where if a best offer is accepted, it is going to immediately charge your card on file. I like seeing that. I wish it was a little bit more. But I'm wondering if they are beginning to lay the groundwork for auto payments across the board. It was a topic of discussion on Twitter I'm recording this Saturday night right before the Cavs game, big Cavs game tonight against the 76ers, where there was so much discussion on social media today about how many Burrows are going to go unpaid if they lose tomorrow. Like, how many auctions ending on Saturday night into Sunday are people going to gobble up in the hopes that they win? And then if they lose, they just won't pay. And then, they're out nothing, basically. And the fact that that is even that big of a topic of conversation kind of really lays out one of the major problems with the platform that they really need to get fixed. So those are kind of the big news things today. That leads me into our sponsor for today's video, MySlabs, who will be rolling out raw card sales soon. And I'm really hoping that becomes, they pick up more and more users, and they're doing very well. But I'd like to see more and more business migrate over there. They had a very funny social media post about MySlabs, the place where we don't need to touch your cards, or something along those lines. I retweeted it on Twitter. It was pretty funny. So, quick word from our sponsor, MySlabs.com. And I should mention as well, I forgot about this. I had the SGC grade reveal video the other day with the Marvel cards in it. The end of this video, so the tail end of this video, I am going to run the comment picker random for that. So if you commented on that video for a shot to win that SGC 9 Spider-Man, the tail end of this video will be the random for that. And we'll talk about how to reach out and whatnot. So, quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll be back to talk a bunch of football.
Tired of paying 10%, 15%, or more to sell your cards, comics, and digital collectibles? How does 1% sound? Too good to be true? Well, not anymore. MySlabs.com is the web's premier user-driven marketplace for buying and selling slabbed cards, sealed wax, and now slabbed comics and digital collectibles. So the next time you're forced to pay 10% or more to sell something from your collection, head over to MySlabs.com and join the 1% revolution.
Once again, shout out to MySlabs.com, our friends over there, for supporting the channel and sponsoring today's video. Let's go ahead and dive into some charts and graphs. Let's just broadly speak. I was on with Sports Cards Anonymous on his Friday night live stream, his birthday. Happy birthday, Dakota, on his Friday night live stream. And I pontificated, as I am liked to do, that there is a decent chance, I think anyway, almost regardless of what happens, that this week and next week, if say the Rams win, this is going to be the highest prices of the Rams players ever. Stafford, this could be his highest price ever, either like this week or next week if they win. I just don't. Dakota's real big on Stafford long term. I just don't see it. Same with Cooper Kupp. If it was me, and we kind of talked about this before, I would be selling most of these guys prior to the game. Cooper Kupp is having a fantastic, or had a fantastic season, is having a fantastic playoffs, and we have his charts up here. This is his 2017 Prizm Silver, PSA 10, PSA 9. I went back 90 days on this just so we could kind of see the visual run up in his prices. Over the last 3 months, he's up 66% on the PSA 10, 90% on the PSA 9, up to $340. Listen, most position players just do not hold value in the NFL. If I had Cooper Kupp stuff, I would have been selling prior to tonight's Super Bowl game. If they win, he'll probably see a little bump, and then my guess is this stuff's going to come right back down again. If they lose, I think his stuff comes way down. I'm very curious to see how football prices swing 7, 14, 30 days from now on these players. But Kupp is up a ton. I would have sold or have been selling already on him. But I just don't believe in position players holding long-term value. You know, there's a couple of the legitimately all-time greats like Jerry Rice, those sorts of guys. I just don't think that's Cooper Kupp. So I'm not going to mess around with it. I will take my profits because you're probably into him for very little and move on to the next one. That's just the way we like to roll around here. I'm not going to get cute with Cooper Kupp values. Once again, Matthew Stafford, same thing. And you can see his stuff is actually, this is his PSA 10 tops paper because the Chrome has an insanely low population count. Going back 30 days on this one. So you can see the rise. It peaked around the NFC Championship game, and you can actually see it's already coming down prior to the game. On January 30th, this was a $475 card. Now it's down to $400 already. So it's down $75 just in the last week in the lead up to the game. Stafford's not sexy as much as Dakota wants him to be. I just don't see it with him, short or long term. If he wins, does he get a little bump? Probably. But I don't think it's sustainable. I think there is a legitimate shot that this $480 sale right here could be the peak of the Stafford market, whether they win or lose. Maybe it goes a little bit above that if they win, because it legitimizes him because he has a ring then. He has a lot of good numbers, but if they lose, he is never getting back to this value. If it was me and I had Stafford, I would have been selling. I just don't think it makes sense to run the risk for whatever additional profits that you might make on holding Stafford cards through the Super Bowl if they win. Because if they lose, I think it's a disaster on his prices. So if I had Stafford, I would have been moving, and I think that's what people are doing, and I think people are getting scared off from him already. So I guess, if you're Dakota and you're a big-time believer in Stafford, maybe you should be buying right here at this $400 price point. Get in on that. And if you think they're going to win or have a good long-term outlook, it bounces back up again. I just don't personally see it with Stafford. He's a perfectly good quarterback, but he's 34 years old. Who knows what that team looks like next year? They'll probably still be pretty good, but NFL stuff changes fast. And Stafford's just not one I want to be tying card values to. If I was into him super cheap, which if you have Stafford, you probably are, I would have already taken those profits. Those cards would already be shipped and on their way to wherever it is that they are going. Burrow. Talked about Burrow extensively already in regards to buy, sell, hold. I would be selling his lower end stuff, holding nicer stuff if I had multiples. He does, obviously this is only his second year, but we have the data from when Mahomes won his, win, lose, or draw. If he won, his stuff spiked ever so slightly and then pulled back some. If he loses, I think his stuff will pull back a little bit. He has a very high floor. I don't see his stuff crashing to zero, but I think I could potentially see it pulling back a little bit if they lose. Not a ton though. I would actually be a little bit of a buyer on Burrow. And this is another thing that came up on Dakota's stream. I would like to do a standalone video on this, and I've kind of talked about this before. The AFC is absolutely loaded. Like, there's no guarantees for any of this young crop of quarterbacks to just keep winning multiple Super Bowls. The young quarterback class, talent-wise, is very strong in the AFC. You have Burrow, you have Herbert, you have Mahomes, and you have Allen. And, that's just those 4 guys. There's still a lot of other talent out there. Those are just the top 4. I'm not even including, like Lamar Jackson in there. And there's a few other names that could probably sneak into the bottom of that list. I don't put them in with those 4 on a tier level. But that's just going to make it a little trickier for these guys to win multiple Super Bowls, go on a Tom Brady-esque like run, which I don't think is going to happen with any of these guys. That's absolutely obscene. But it calls into question about how much is baked into quarterback prices already. And when you start mapping out their career, what is realistic for them Super Bowl wise, and how many Super Bowls does Mahomes need to win to justify what his price is selling for? And then you start running the numbers and you're like, well, can he actually really get there? Like, you start looking at the math. And I understand he's young and he's really good. And same with Burrow. Same with Allen. Same with Herbert. It's going to be a war of attrition between those 4, I think. Plus, whoever, springs up. Some team's going to come out of the woodwork and surprise us. It always happens. So it's just the price. There's so much baked into these quarterbacks, and it just scares me a little bit. But I'll save that for a separate Mahomes-centric video. Burrow's prices are... This is interesting. This really surprised me, actually. So this is his base Prizm over the last 30 days. PSA 10. And I know, people are going to say, oh, what are you looking at base for in football? Base is dead. And yeah, base is not, it's not the sexy thing that it used to be. But on football, it is still very relevant. Base Prizm in football is still a very relevant card, because the print runs are so much smaller than basketball in the grand scheme of things. Don't get me wrong. It's not saying that the print run's small for Prizm football, but in comparison, it is. And there, Prizm football came out right as PSA was shutting down, so some stuff has been graded. It's not like there's nothing out there for it. And, his SGC stuff sells for about 50 to 60% of his PSA 10 stuff. So it's not like there's not Burrow Prizm base out there. But his PSA 10 does well for itself. It's pop 2,600. I'm sure this will go up. But prior to the AFC title game, this was going for about $400 to $450, give or take, depending on the day. Obviously, they won. It shot up to $677. It has slowly tailed back off, and it looks like it's gotten a little run up here leading up to the actual game. But it's down to $585. That's still a nice return. That's a 50% increase from the beginning of January, which is nothing to sneeze at. And that's his base card. Like I said, had this big spike, then kind of plateaued, slow pullback, and then maybe a little bit of a rise here. What's interesting, so mentally imprint this graph on your mind, and I'm going to flip over to the silver here. Look at the silver. The silver prior to the AFC Championship, and this is pop 100. This is not a lot of these out there, and these were getting sent to PSA regardless of PSA pricing. I tried to look for SGC sales on these, and they just don't exist. Because I didn't look at the pop count, but I have to imagine there's probably not a lot on the population count, because most of these would go to PSA. But prior to the AFC Championship game, this was about a $3,800 card, give or take. The AFC Championship games happens. It spikes up to 6.8K, but then look at it, right back down again. Last sale on this on 2/8, which is a couple days ago, 4K. That's right slightly above what it was selling for before they made the AFC Championship run. To me, that is kind of wild, especially when you consider that his base card spiked and has held up okay. His silver has not. It's up 6% over the last 30. In the same time frame, the base is up 50%. I just find that odd. I don't know if it's... The only thing I can think of is there is more, which, I mean, obviously it makes sense. There is more demand for a $400 to $600 card than there is for a $4,000 to $6,000 card, which obviously makes a ton of sense when you kind of think about it like that. But I just found it very intriguing that this card has already dipped back down again to 4K. Now, I'm going to be curious, and I'll probably be posting these throughout the day today if I haven't already. Maybe I'll throw some in the comments down below. I'm very interested to see what Burrow auctions end before the game, during the game, after the game, late tonight, that sort of stuff. So if you're not, I'll probably be posting a lot of that stuff on Twitter. I will probably post some on the YouTube community page. I might post some in the comment section to this video, so look for a pinned post down below. with some links if you want to follow along. I always find that stuff fascinating. The art of trying to time the auction end at the exact time to me is intriguing. And it's also, imperative that they win. Some people might overbid those once again because of the way eBay operates. They may overbid those in the anticipation of him winning, and then if they don't win, they just won't pay. Or if they win and the Bengals don't win, they just won't pay. But this is just weirds me out a little bit. We just don't usually see this, where the base spikes holds the Prizm silver spikes and then comes right back down again and immediately levels back off. Now, I'll be curious to see if one sells tonight, Saturday night. I haven't looked. In fact, I guess I could look real quick here. Let's take a peek. Just real fast. This will only take a second. Ending soonest. We got nothing. Well, this one's at 4,300. And it ends in 22 hours. So that ends right after. I'm recording this at 7 p.m. This ends actually right before the game. And then we have a couple that end after the game, sitting at around the low threes. So once again, I'll link to some of these in the comments down below on a pinned post so you can kind of follow along. But I just find that very interesting that did not hold up like the base did. Let's talk about Tom Brady for a minute. Shift away from the Super Bowl. Tom Brady, Chrome and base, 2000 Bowman. Obviously his iconic card. He had formally announced his retirement. This is going back 14 days on this. They're actually slightly trending down, which I found intriguing. His stuff is extremely liquid, as in if you want to sell his stuff, you'll sell it fast. But it doesn't seem to be moving prices, at least on his bigger cards. His PSA 10 on the Chrome and the PSA 9 on the Chrome is down 7 and 12% respectively. And the paper, the PSA 10, PSA 9 is down 7 and 8%. It's not like the bottom's falling out of these things, but they are definitely creeping slightly down. I'd be very interested to see how low these go. I doubt they get super low just because the floor is so high. This just could be a matter of too much inventory, not enough buyers, as there's probably been a lot of people selling these cards. And then after the event has happened, that his retirement was announced, and maybe not enough buyers on the market to accept that extra supply hitting. Which, once again, we talked about this before on the championship game things, win, lose, or draw. Sometimes the card prices go down after the initial euphoria. So just interesting to track there on Brady. We'll kind of see where it goes from there. I am not concerned about the Brady market at all. I just found it interesting that his stuff was slightly creeping down. Checking in on other recently eliminated quarterbacks from NFL playoff contention, Patrick Mahomes. This is his 2017 Optic Hollow and his 2017 Prizm Silver. Similar story here. Last 2 weeks, this is going back 14 days, so right before the AFC Championship game, slightly creeping down. Not crashing, but slightly creeping down. PSA 10's down 7% on the Hollow, 2% on the 9, basically staying flat. Silver Prizm PSA 10 down 7%, so that's down to 7.5K. And then the PSA 9 did take a little bit of a harder hit. It's down 32%, down to 1.1. The PSA 10, the PSA 9 on his Prizm is a little weird always because the population is super skewed towards the 10. The 10 has a pop of 884. The 9 has a pop of 2200. So that one is always going to be a little more swingy than the other one. On the Optic Hollow, they're much closer together. The PSA 10's at 600 pop. The PSA 9 is at 400. So Mahomes slowly ticking down. Once again, we'll be curious to see where the bottom is there. Does it go all the way down until like NFL free agency? Very curious to see what happens to the NFL market now that the Super Bowl is today and it becomes less and less. Football becomes less and less top of mind for the consumer market and things swing to baseball. But wait a second, they are on a lockout. Sounds like spring training is going to be delayed based off today's news. I haven't had time to dig super into it. I had a very busy day today. The baseball market, I did glance at it, is as flat could be. Not going up, not really going down. It's just kind of sitting there. People are poking at it with a stick saying, do something. That's where the baseball market is right now. So we're not going to look at any charts and graphs on the baseball side. I would love for baseball to have an agreement in place before the Atlanta show. I have a decent amount of baseball stuff that I would like to bring with me to that show, and I would prefer that baseball be a live and breathing entity and hopefully juice that market. I'll be interested to see if they come out with, hey, we're on. Is there an initial price spike for excitement for the season coming? I honestly have no idea. I really don't. And then as this thing creeps on, do people start panic selling some stuff off because they don't want to hold it into potential lockout? Not necessarily maybe because it's going to crash, but maybe they just don't want to have that money tied up in those cards for a month or two with the fear of prices potentially dipping. I don't know. We'll see. Switching over to basketball. The new main player in the sports world with the football season ending and baseball in limbo, all eyes now turn to the NBA. We just had a very crazy trade deadline. The Ben Simmons and Harden deal, the CJ McCollum deal, the KP deal, Karis LeVert to the Cavs, among many others. It was a wild trade deadline. To me, the biggest swing was the Simmons deal and Harden coming to the 76ers. Simmons stuff has gotten a pretty decent bump. Now, it's PSA 10 silver. One did sell, but there was no previous sale for months. I think the last previous sale was before Christmas. So it shows a 0% change because there's really none have sold. But his PSA 10 base is up 100%. It went from 125 to 250. So 100% jump there. His base optic went from $40 to $75 and 84% there. And then same thing on his optic hollow. Two sold, but they sold on the same day. They went for $425, but the last sale prior to that was months ago. So it's kind of weird. There's no real, comp for that. I went back, I think 30 days or 14 days on these. So Simmons did get a big price bump from the move. The interesting thing is when do we actually see him? From the sounds of it, he still needs to kind of get his act together mentally before he actually comes back on the court. And how long does that take in conjunction with how long until KD's back from his injury? And then there is the underrated Seth Curry aspect of that deal. But that team needs to get straight before I take them seriously as a NBA championship contender for this season. I think this deal is more about next year for the Nets. Probably get rid of Kyrie in some shape or form and, roll out with Simmons, KD, Curry, maybe Joe Harris, maybe not. And then whatever they can rebuild if there's an Irving trade that can happen, a sign and trade or something, whatever they could get for him. But I don't think they want to bring him back. I don't see the vaccine mandate going anywhere for the Nets. On the Sixers side, it's a massive win move for them now. I am surprised that Embiid stuff is just doing what it's doing, which is not much. He is probably the front runner for the NBA MVP if it ended today. He would be on the short list. His stuff got a little teeny tiny bump with the Harden acquisition. And to me, it makes them, assuming Harden is healthy, probably the favorites in the East with Harden and Embiid. Embiid has been playing out of his flipping mind. And now you throw Harden into the mix. I will just be very curious to see what happens there. I thought Embiid stuff would get a little price bump between his play and Harden coming on board. This is his PSA 10 silver Prizm. I had to go back forever on this, or not ever. There was just two sales this week. Prior to this, though, there hasn't been any for a while. It did get a little 15% bump, 2,100 to 2,400. There's only 72 of these on the PSA 10 population report. Not a lot of these when you get back in the older Prizm. His base card did not move at all. Once again, looking at 14 days worth of data here just to kind of see the run up to the actual trade and then after. Hardly moved at all. 7% increase. 320 to 345. The population on this, I get it, guys. It's Prizm base, The population on this is only 1286. That just seems so cheap to me. I know he's injury prone. I know he's a big. I'm not running. I'll tell you right now. I think it's cheap. And to me, that sounds ridiculously cheap. I am not running out and buying any, personally. If I could trade in the one or something, maybe I would. I don't know. It's just wild to me how much hate big guys get. And I understand that there's a little weirdness here with Embiid because he does have a ton of injury factors and whatnot. But I don't know. I really thought he would get a little bit of a bump with the James Harden acquisition. I do not necessarily like that move for them long term. If they have to sign Harden to some massive supermax contract where he's making like $85 million a year going up and down the court in a wheelchair in 2 years, not a huge fan. For this year and next year, I think it's pretty good. I get why they did it. If you get the ring, you get the banner, it doesn't matter. You lock that thing in if you got a shot. And good on Morey. He won, basically. I mean, Simmons did pretty well for himself, too. He gets to go to Brooklyn. But Morey was right holding out as long as he was for this deal. So, curious for your thoughts on the NBA trade deadline down below. So I want your winner for the Super Bowl and curious for your thoughts on the NBA trade deadline. If it's a separate post, it's completely fine. But curious for your winners and losers of the NBA trade deadline. With all that being said, I have one more thing I want to hit on. And then I will do the comment picker for the Marvel giveaway. Before we do the comment picker, I want to do a Sunday spotlight. I have not done a Sunday spotlight in forever, but I want to do one today. GG Man Marvel card collecting and investing, friend of the channel. Been in and out of some group chats with him and whatnot. Does very, very good Marvel card content. Kind of does like a top 10 sales thing, little market breakdown, kind of like I do, but for Marvel cards. He is at 961 subscribers as of Saturday night. I challenge you to get him over 1K. If you're not interested in Marvel cards, I get it. Don't go subscribe to him just because I asked you to. If you're genuinely interested in what is going on in Marvel card pricing, go check out some of his videos and give him a shot. Subscribe to his channel. I'd love to get him over 1K subscribers. Give him a little bump. Give him a little Neo bump. And let's see if we can get him over 1K. Get that 1K is a big achievement for a YouTube channel. So let's see if we can push him over the top. He's real close. Get him into that monetization zone so he can start making his, $3 a video or whatever. Just kidding. But let's get him over 1K subs. Go check out his channel. If you like what he's doing over there, slap him a subscribe, and let's see if we can get him over 1K. So with that, that's all I have for you guys and girls, other than the comment picker. So we're going to filter on over to that and run the random for that. In terms of content, just in case you didn't enter that giveaway, just a little preview for content for this upcoming week. I have another mail day video because I can't stop buying Marvel cards. I have another PSA submission video because I got in the lottery for a second time last week. So those are actually by the time you see the video, they're probably already at PSA. I actually shipped them out on Friday. So they are already on their way to PSA. That video is already recorded. That'll be dropping sometime next week. I would like to kind of do a Patrick Mahomes style video like I talked about earlier in the week. Maybe another post NBA trade deadline. We're only a couple days past the NBA trade deadline. I kind of like to see what prices do like a week out. So maybe towards the tail end of next week, we'll do a post NBA trade deadline, like a 7-day view. We're just a little too close right now to see if prices have swung wildly one way or the other on any guys. And depending on what happens in the Super Bowl, we'll see kind of like what that data goes for after the Super Bowl, depending on who wins, how they win, how they lose, and whatnot. So like, comment, subscribe if you haven't, and then we're going to go ahead and pop over and do the random for this Spider-Man giveaway. So I have the random comment picker over here. I need to enter the URL for the video, so I have to pull that up really quick here. Here it is, SGC video. Okay, I've got the video pulled up here. Got to copy and paste this, throw this over here, throw that into there. Filter comments based by a specific text. Hashtag Marvel cards. Get comments, and let's see who our winner is. Got 118 comments that had that hashtag in it. And who we got? Joanne Allard. Nice grades on those Marvel card Neos. They all look great in the tux. Congratulations, Joanne Allard. So, Joanne, go ahead and leave me a comment on this video, or what I will probably do after this video posts tomorrow. I will go find your comment on the original video and reply to that. you'll need to reach out to me either via email. My email address is listed on the YouTube page here, or Twitter or IG DMs. One of those three will work. I prefer IG or Twitter. It's just easier. The email box for this, I don't check a ton. Reach out to me there, and I will leave a comment on, I will reply to your comment on the original video, so I know which, just to say that you won and let me know how you are contacting me to make sure that some random fake person doesn't try to contact me. So congratulations, Joanne Allard. You are the winner of the SGC9 Black Suit Spider-Man. Thank you guys and girls all for participating in that. We will catch you on the next one. Everybody have a fantastic Super Bowl tonight. Peace.